when your book comes out, it's Keanu Reeves coming over and saying, hey, nice job. Thanks, Mom. Hi. So today I'm going to talk a little about things nobody ever tells you about being an author. And like, my own background is not from fiction or publishing. Like, I was a journalist and I was like random jobs that involved writing everywhere, but never publishing. So I didn't know anything about the industry when I started, and it has been an array of surprises over the years. So many surprises, some good, some truly terrible, some, so I thought I'd talk a little about the things that you just don't know when you first get in. So here we go. I'm trying to decide how, fiction-y specific to get. So I'll be a little specific and hopefully it'll be interesting rather than boring. But I'll start general. So number one, nobody ever tells you how often you're gonna get your picture taken. And this is, I was once asked on a panel at at an event, what's the thing nobody told you that surprised you about being an author? And it's how many people take my picture? It had never occurred to me. And I'm always really impressed, or shall I say, slightly suspicious, of debut authors. And you see their big announcement in the bookseller, and they have this amazing professional headshot, and their makeup and hair has been done. And the thing is, when that is announced, your book hasn't come out. It doesn't come out sometimes for 2 years. I had no idea I needed that. And so my first shot of me, my first ever headshot, was one that my husband took on our honeymoon, and we had to crop out the brandy glass in my hand. I'm not making this up. And it's still everywhere. It was once hung poster-sized at an event in France. Me, except for my cut off hand and the missing brandy glass. I knew so little about it that this was, if somebody knows so much that they've gone out within literally weeks of getting their book deal and hired a professional photographer to take a super glossy glam picture of them, I'm like, you know this business really well, nice one. How did you get into, how do you know this? How do you know this debut author? Anyway, nobody tells you normally, so I'm telling you, you have to get your picture taken a lot, you need headshots. Strangers will take your picture. When I do book fairs in some countries, it doesn't happen here because I am in no way famous in England, but in other countries where I have a certain level of fame, strangers will come up and just go and while I'm sitting at a table. And once at a book fair, this men in particular, I'm sorry men, but why? Some man would come up to the table where I'm signing and just say, "You're a beautiful lady," and I'm like, I'm an author signing my books. It's nice that he thinks I'm pretty. Don't get me wrong, that's lovely. But it's weird when it's just a total stranger. And I was once literally papped, as in paparazzi'd, walking into a book fair in France, and it was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. I walked in because they had a VIP entrance, I had my suitcase, and there were 7 photographers all shooting at me going, over here, and I'm like, do you think I'm someone else? Maybe they think I'm J.K. Rowling. It was just, but I just smiled. Anyway, so there are pictures of me on the internet. Feel free to Google, it's there. Looking super sweaty and exhausted and signing books at random book fairs where the air conditioning didn't work. Because there are dozens of them. And at first it freaked me out because I'm a really private person and I am always a behind the camera type person. Now I'm just I just know when I see a camera, I just smile automatically, because I think that's the best look for me. And I don't want resting bitch face all over the place, I don't want that everywhere. So anytime I see a camera, and it's terrible, when I started writing crime novels and I was having some headshots done, okay, now I know, so I do it. I was like, ha, and my husband's like, okay, your book's called The Echo Killing, so maybe something a little less cheery. So then I had to learn how to do sexy bitch face or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but not quite right. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's a thing you have to learn that you don't think you'll have to learn because all you really want to do is write the words, so pictures. I do go on. Okay, let's see. Another thing they never tell you. I suppose they never tell you that money in publishing is really weird. So that you read these stories about writers getting advances and being signed for book deals. What that will not say is that they won't get that advance for a year and a half. Normally, the contract process, the process of signing and agreeing contracts itself can take months, sometimes 3 or 4 months with one publisher. And if you, with the Night School sold in 26 countries, so that had to happen 26 times. And until the contract is signed, nobody gets paid. And so that can go on for a really long time. And then the advance is usually broken up into 3. So you get a third of the advance after you've signed the contract, usually within a few months of signing the contract, because the wheels of publishing move slowly. You get the second third of it when they accept your manuscript. So they say, this is good enough for us, which usually happens deep into the editing process. So it's not when you first submit it, and it's not when you do your first edit. It's usually when you're doing copy edits that they will pay you that third. And then the last third comes usually a couple months after the book comes out. So it's on publication, but in reality, I recently got the publication advance for Night School in Greece, and that came out in 2014. I got it like 2 months ago. So that's what I mean when I say money is weird. Because nobody ever gets as much as the publication says, and they never get it all at once. They literally get it over years. If it's like a 3-book deal and 1 book comes out a year, well, then that money is broken up into thirds first, and then each third is broken up into thirds. So if you've got like a £10,000 deal, which is standard in the UK for an advance for a young adult book, like it's actually pretty good for that. And then you're going to get 3,300, and then like maybe a year later 3,300, and then like 6 months after that 3,300, out of which your agent will take 20% and plus 20% VAT, which also they don't tell you about. VAT is a big surprise to me. And yeah, and then taxes. So before you know it, what you end up with out of a £10,000 advance normally is around £5,000, I would say, and then taxes. So that's one thing. Like, here I am to burst your dreams because mine were burst. So join me in this. So that's one thing they don't tell you, and they should tell you. They should tell you how that works. Everybody should know that going in. It's hard to make money in this business. It is not impossible. It is slow. Like my favorite example of this is it took so long to get paid for Night School after I was signed that I bounced a check for yoga the week I got my first advance. Like the week it finally hit, I was that broke. I was so broke. I bounced a £30 check for yoga class. It was 2 yoga classes actually. But like it can really devastate people. So it's quite a tricky business in terms of money. But you know, hey, if you get lucky, it's like winning the lottery. You can J.K. Rowling it, like J.K. did, and look at her. I mean, actual yachts. But I know a lot of writers, and none of us have yachts. I have a shed in my garden. This, all you see around you is the result of my many years of writing, and I'm grateful for it. Like I'm lucky. Like I am lucky. Like it's a tough business. Like this is not easy. It looks easy. It looks like the greatest job in the world, and it is in a way because you are making people up for a living, making things up for a living. Like that I love. But it's hard on your heart, and you have to come into it with your armor on. I mean, it's not writing. This is the thing. You got to be able to take the armor off and put it back on again, because you need no armor to write a book. You've got to be like your soul needs to be naked to write a book, in my opinion. But if you go like out into the world, to the world of reviews and people's opinions and people tweeting bad reviews to you, people Facebook messaging you the things they think that are wrong with your book because they think you'd want to know. I get that a lot. I thought you'd want to know what I thought of your book. It wasn't very good. Like, turns out you're wrong about what I want. Turns out I don't care. I don't want to care. But of course I care. Everybody cares. It's extremely painful. It can be really hard, even if, like, I'm, again, a blessed individual in that my books generally have pretty decent reviews, far more good reviews than bad. But we are all, I think, particularly creative people, hardwired to ignore the 5-star reviews and to literally click sort 1 stars and then just read the venom or the contempt or the worse than anything, the complete lack of interest. Like, those are going to be out there for every book. They are there for Harry Potter. My husband doesn't like Harry Potter. What a fool. Like, people dislike books we love. That is part of the world of fiction, and that we accept as readers. It's harder to accept as a writer, or at least to learn to accept. And my advice on that, if you write, for any debut author, is to turn it off right away. So don't be a Goodreads author. Just like, don't even register. It doesn't matter that your picture's blank. It's not you they're going to Goodreads for, it's your book. Let them do that. Let Goodreads be for readers. So it's not for us. And don't let your agent and your editor send you the reviews that are worth reading. Don't Google yourself. Never Google yourself. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Because everybody gets that, but nobody tells you this is really gonna hurt. Hi, welcome to the world of fiction. This is really gonna hurt. It does hurt until you figure out how to fit yourself in it and make it work for you. And so I don't read reviews. I don't engage with that stuff. I don't engage with anymore with the strum and drang of Twitter, or the particularly like in young adult fiction, the fighting on Twitter. I don't engage with that. I don't want anything to do with it, and I will block anybody who tries to drag me into it, and I also block people who even talk about it. This is not out of malice. This is pure self-protection. I get that there's lots of bitchy infighting among bloggers and people who are like big into various genres, and that's not me. I'm not on that side of the desk. And I want to focus on writing. And what I find is, if you want to clear your head, you got to get all that stuff out of your head. You got to not think about reviews if you want to write. Because if you start questioning every line, what if a reviewer says this is trite? What if someone on Twitter says this is derivative of a manga book, which literally happened with Night School. When Night School came out, like, there's this whole like thread of people going, this is complete ripoff of something, I forget what it's called, some manga book, look it up, that I have never heard of, because I don't read manga. Like, I'm just, like, frankly, I am too old for that stuff. There, in case we need that one. I didn't know it existed. And there's a whole group of people talking about how I, like, stole the story of Night School from this manga book about vampire knights. I think it's vampire knights. I still don't know, because I still haven't read it. And I remember being, like, outraged at the time. But then realizing, that's fine. Let them think that, like, that's for them to think. And I think sometimes, like, oh, this book is a lot like that, and then the writer will say, well, my book was actually written before that book. Like, there are so few ideas in the whole big idea pantheon out there, and we're all grabbing from it. It's very likely that we'll write similar things. So I don't know how I got on this subject. I'm gonna end it here. Another thing people don't tell you is that how much time you'll spend alone, because writing is a necessarily isolation-based work. So you need to be alone a lot, which I love. Like, I am an introvert and a separatist, and time alone is extremely valuable to me. But I'm really lucky because my husband works from home as well, so I'm not truly alone. So if I feel like talking to a human being, I can just go inside and go, like, tea, cake, like, maybe we should go for a walk. When there's someone to talk to. When he's away, I have that same conversation with myself aloud, so I can see how if I was completely alone working at home, I would go mad quite quickly, and that's a big worry for me. So you have to be, like, writers adjust for this, like, they go to libraries or coffee shops, and I think I would do that. I would have to get out of my shed and into Cafe Nero or something just to be around other human beings, even though I don't like most other human beings, because it's just too maddening to be by yourself completely all the time. So that isolation that we all kind of crave when we're commuters is like, be careful what you wish for after a while. Because, I mean, once when Jack was away and I was completely alone for like a week, I noticed that 3 days went by when I didn't speak to another human being. Like, that's really weird, right? Like, I didn't have a reason to leave. I was writing. I was really, like, set up to be, like, cut off. That was my plan. I was going to, you know, sort of barricade myself in and write this book. But, I mean, even as an introvert, I'm a social human being. I need to see another human being's face and hear a voice now and then. It was quite illuminating about how I would be if I didn't have someone to talk to. So be ready to be alone more than perhaps you ever have been, and to figure out, have methods for how you deal with that. I mean, my method is make my husband work from home, or go to a coffee shop, go to London. I write really well on trains. I have from time to time gone to London for no good reason at all, because it's an hour from where I live, and like spent an hour in London and then just come back on the train again so that I can have some place to write, surrounded by people and life and movement. Find your train journey, I suppose. Speaking in public. This is something nobody tells you have to be good at. And you do. Like, I had done some speaking in public as a journalist, which is the only way I survived. my first couple of years, where I remember my first event, my publisher just said, we're sending you to a school in Surrey. It's really big. There'll be about 150 kids there, and they want to hear you talk about your new book. And my book had just come out, so this was night school. And at the last minute, they sent another writer, Ruth Warburton, who wrote a series called The Witch in Winter, with me. And she had worked in public relations. And that is the only reason I am here talking to you today and didn't die of mortification. Because when we got up on this, I don't know what I was expecting, but nobody told me anything. Nobody said, you should prepare a speech. Maybe you want a PowerPoint. Here's how other authors do it. It was just like, go give a speech. Because publishing. So I went to the school, I got up on stage, there were 150 11-year-olds, far too young for my books, blinking at me in their little matching uniforms, and I'm like, shoot, I don't know what to do. I just froze. I had no idea. I hadn't really prepared anything. I never prepare. I'm famous for not preparing. And I'd done no research, because I just thought, I don't know, that it'd be like a classroom, and Ruth and I would just throw some ideas around, and I just went completely silent, and Ruth took over. And in my vacuum of help, and she immediately saved the day and had great ideas that they could all do sample writing, and everybody could do a little give them a writing prompt, and everybody would write something, and the kids were really engaged, and it was all fine, and we survived. I'm sure not one of them ever bought one of my books ever, and I don't blame them. They probably all bought Ruth's books, and that is fine because she deserved it. But that was when I realized I've got to figure out how to do this, because then immediately they're like, great, they loved you, you're going to this other place. But it wasn't me they loved, it was Ruth. And so I had to learn how to talk off the cuff, or to prepare a presentation that I could just, pull out and use for various events. And so get ready to learn, and they do expect this. You'll see it all the time, publishers talking in various professional media about how writers are called upon to give presentations and to market their own books and to be the face of their books. And it is genuinely whether you like it or not, this is the way it is. And that was a real surprise to me. But I got better at it. I don't mind it. I kind of like it in a way now. I'm prepared for it, but I honestly wish somebody had sat me down and told me what to expect. And maybe some publishers do. Mine was chilled. Whatever, you'll be fine. You like talking. You like words, don't you? Go to the school and share the words. So, and I have heard similar horror stories from other writers. So you have to kind of, know what you're being sent to do, ask a lot of questions. But yeah, I never thought that being an author would involve going from days of not talking to another human being to suddenly being expected to entertain 200 people in a highly lighted room on camera. That never occurred to me. So yeah, that was a shocker. I suppose the one thing nobody can ever tell you that you simply have to experience is the undiluted, pure joy of seeing your own book on bookshelves. That is the most magical thing, and it is the moment when everything becomes real. And I think one of my greatest regrets is that my mom didn't live long enough to see night school. She knew I was writing it, and she knew I had the deal, and she was very happy about that. But I would love for her to have seen it, because she'd have been so proud. It is a moment of pure pride that something you created and that you struggled so hard to get out there, because it is so tough to get a book deal. I don't care what anybody tells you. It is tough to get one. It's tough to get your foot in that door. And then tough to find the right publishing house, tough to find the right person who gets your book, and to get all the way to the end. And even then, tough to get bookshops to pick it up, because they don't have to stock it. But when they do, and you walk in, and it's your book on that shelf, or even your book in that library, which in my own way I prefer, I just love the library shaped me. So to see The Echo Killing or Night School or The Secret Fire in a library or a bookshop, still to this day makes my heart just absolutely leap. It is proof that it was done, that people like it. And I think the only thing that comes above that in my mind is when somebody comes and brings me a book to sign, and it's just battered. It's all been read and reread, and the cover's crumpled, and the pages are well thumbed. That is just the best. Like, and sometimes people will apologize, like, I'm really sorry about the state of it. I'm like, you have no idea how joyful this makes me. Like, this is just the greatest gift you could give me, is a battered copy of one of my books, because I know you loved it. Like, I know looking at it, you loved it. I mean, either that or you're really like throwing books around like a crazy gorilla, but I'm sure that's not it. When I have a book, like my favorite book from when I was a child, the cover is literally ripped off it. It's just gone. I read it 7,000 times and until there was just nothing left of it. And so that is what I project onto a battered book. So yeah, now these are things that nobody can begin to describe, that in a way, every like remotely bad thing that I've described earlier, the isolation, the trickiness of it, like the money being broke, that in a way, when you see that, it balances out, man. It's that, like, it's the balance of the universe. You think, I would trade the pain for the reward. And the reward is not anything you think it will be. I think in the end, the reward is just that the book exists and that people like it or have at least read it, and that you're connecting with people who get what you're trying to do. Like, these things. These things are almost unquantifiably wonderful. So yeah, these are things that nobody could ever tell you, even if they wanted to. And so I'm telling you now, but it's not the same. Like, it still can't capture it. It's like me describing Keanu Reeves. I could describe Keanu Reeves, but that nothing matches actually seeing Keanu Reeves. That's what publishing is like. When your book comes out, it's Keanu Reeves coming over and saying, hey, nice job. Big smile. Okay, thank you so much for being here for my Keanu TED Talk, and I hope that I bestowed some value through my description of the things that I didn't expect, mostly getting my picture taken, which it turned out I hated, but now I don't care about, so take my picture, it's fine, I no longer mind. And leave your comments, tell me what you think, if you were surprised by anything that I shared, if you've got your own thoughts on this. If I whinge too much, tell me, I will delete your comment. Just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I ruthlessly will. Be nice and subscribe if I didn't bore you, because it's lovely having you here, and I want you here for my next conversation, which will be even more surely fascinating, more Keanu next time. See you soon.